This has to be the most lethal stealth build I've made for Naoe. My ultimate Tanto one-shot build, which deletes any threat in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Especially for the mid and late game, it's gonna work like a charm with its razor-sharp kunai throws, multi-kill hidden blade takedowns, with a heavy focus on insane vulnerability and backstab damage. This build is an absolute must if you want to dominate Japan, literally sweep the streets like a vacuum cleaner. I dare to say it's my most fun build yet, so let's get right to it. If you've built my previous Naoe one-shot Katana build, this one is going to be super easy to set up, while I'm also going to share some quick tips and tricks how you can easily get your hands on these top tier items. So let's start off with the loadout. Right here you can see that I once again exclusively use non-legendary items. And that's because these are simply the best items in the game if you find them with the best attribute stat rolls and of course baked in engravings. Especially if we look at my Trinket right here, a plus 15% damage per non-legendary gear engraving. That gives us a total boost of 90% for all these items. This legendary engraving automatically unlocks once you get your hands on the Ani's Fury Trinket, which can be found super early game in the Izumi Setsu region, which is, well, pretty close to the Kawachi Heights. If we zoom in right here, that's where you will find it at the Teratsusuki Den, inside a legendary chest. One of my favorite baked-in engravings you want to focus on would be this 100% armor piercing on critical hits. We're gonna pretty much always crit against vulnerable enemies, which we're gonna talk more about during this video. A very nice alternative engraving, if you weren't able to find one of these just yet, would be the plus 125% of an adrenaline chunk with crits. We always crit, so those chunks fill up like crazy. You can constantly execute enemies by using your different abilities. For the armor, I found a god tier drop with a golden attribute roll on HP, but also the plus 50% damage on next hit after using abilities. So when you throw your Tanto on an enemy or use your hidden blade, the next hit will be 50% heavier. Also decided to put the throw a kunai at the closest enemy after assassination on it, which you will automatically unlock after you found the tool's master gear, which already happens super early game if you just do your main objectives. This is also an amazing engraving you want to focus on, the plus 60% posture damage on next hit after using abilities, as we're constantly vaulting over our enemies, automatically making them vulnerable, massively increasing our critical strike chance, which we're going to talk about in a second, but then quickly charging up that Tanto for a posture backstab. Boy oh boy, this erases bigger targets. For the headgear, I was once again super lucky. I found the Shrouded Shinobi hood with 30% critical strike chance when hitting vulnerable enemies. It's probably the best engraving you can put on any headgear. I first found the legendary Onimusha headband, which already comes with this built-in legendary engraving, vault over enemies while sprinting. The reason why we don't use this one is because, yeah, it's a legendary item. You lose 15% raw damage because we get more of that with our Unstoppable Giant Trinket, so make sure to find something epic with that built-in 30% crit chance when hitting these targets and put the legendary engraving on it as secondary. I remember finding the legendary Onimusha headband in the Koreyama castle, which can be found in the Yamato region, in the northwest basically. That is the castle where you want to take out all the Daisho and in the end take the legendary chest as reward. As secondary weapon, I have a Ardent Katana of the Monk. I can't yet confirm if some of these bonuses apply to your main weapon. That would be amazing. Let us know in the comments, but these are the top tier engravings you want to focus on. 30% crit chance once again when hitting vulnerable enemies, and increase your damage by another 24% when hitting these targets. That's the exact same engraving combo I decided to put on this one. However, I wasn't able to find the crit chance when hitting vulnerables just yet, so I had to use it as secondary engraving, the optional one, and it comes with a 20% crit damage with melee weapons. There is another engraving which increases the critical strike damage per adrenaline chunk filled. I think then it can be like plus 45 damage. That would be insane when critting So any weapon we use, the Tanto or the Katana, and the headgear already comes with a plus 60% crit chance when hitting vulnerables. But we can bump this up even higher with some masteries, which we're going to talk about in a second. So that's basically it for all the gear. If we quickly check out the forge and engrave the Tanto, by the way, this is, where I once again want to stress out that legendary engravings aren't really nice for this type of weapon. Shadow Piercer now removes 2 health segments on hit. Can be fun to play with, but in general, this build just already destroys without the legendary engraving, especially because of those raw damage increments which we found on this weapon. Damage-wise, weak point attacks make enemies vulnerable a second time. Also irrelevant, as we can make enemies vulnerable on demand with our vaulting. So 100% armor piercing on critical hits, that would be amazing, but especially the crit chance, that's important. Let me give you some quick tips how you can easily get your hands on these types of items with the best built-in engravings. I assume you already have a pretty high level hideout. You get a nice amount of bonuses with this if you click on details. Available scouts can bring back money each season, can bring back resources, crafting materials, and also gear. So if we open the map, you can see that we still have 9 white dots or available scouts, which will all bring back resources, money, gear, etc. to our base when the season changes. And this will happen at the stables. So you want to make your way to that, as this is where you will find this legendary chest with inside all the precious loot. Before you open it though, you want to save your progress, as you can basically manipulate the loot what's inside. Right now we're going to open it and you see, this is a terrible drop. We didn't get a single epic. So right now you simply want to press escape instead of loading the autosave, which automatically happens when you pick up these items. Load the manual save and you will get in front of the chest once again. We're going to open it and check it out. A tools specialist mask popped up, which we can now check out with hopefully some pretty decent engravings. 1 health segment removed on any type of assassinations. That's a pretty cool one, but you can find much better. So search for the one with specifically the crit chance when hitting vulnerables. But yeah, you can already see that the amount of items from this chest are random. Sometimes 0, sometimes like 3, 4, or even 5 if you get lucky. But what I think is a much more efficient, reliable method of farming these would be to simply check out a gear vendor. The one in Koriyama is amazing, as it's right next to the Kakurega. So all we have to do is open the door and walk to the south, and voila! Right here we have our gear vendor. We're gonna do the exact same thing. Before we've talked to this guy, we're gonna save our progress. This is something you can only do at the beginning of the season before you've talked to any of the gear merchants. Right now, we will find some random equipment right here. Armor piercing when HP is full, blah, blah, blah. These are all pretty bad. 15% critical strike damage per adrenaline chunk filled. Wow, we actually found the Tanto I was still looking for. But right now what I'm gonna do is make another save. So now I've made a new manual save, locked in that beautiful Tanto roll right there. But we're gonna load manual save 3 right now, which happened before we talked to the gear vendor. And now we should have entirely different items. Armor damage when hitting vulnerables, blah 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 blah. A Tanto with backstab damage and also 8% damage per adrenaline chunk filled, so not the crit damage. 125% of an adrenaline chunk with crits, also nice. The rest of these are pretty bad, so we're just gonna keep reloading. See, now we get a Katana of service with damage when hitting vulnerables, a pretty nice roll. So you basically want to keep reloading that save until you find something nice for the build. Right now though, we're gonna reload that manual save 4, where we locked in that elegant Tanto of soaring with plus 50% critical strike damage per adrenaline chunk filled. Do keep in mind that the stat rolls on this level 52 are much higher compared to the 53, so you can still think about what exactly to use if you really want to get the most out of your build and min-max the damage output. Anyways, now that we've got that out of the way and you know how to get your hands on all these beautiful items, let's move on to the masteries, as this is where the build really starts to shine with specific upgrades. If you are on a higher level, I can't stress out enough that you want to get your knowledge rank up as quick as possible. This is where you will start unlocking some extra damage modifiers. Right here, I think the absolute best ones to pick up would be the damage with posture attacks, can already be increased plus 30% when you maximize this one. For the damage on vulnerable enemies, we get the same amount as well as the armor damage. I still have plenty of points which we can distribute right here, but there we go. That's almost another full chunk. We've got some more right here with critical strike damage you want to focus on, critical strike chance, and the overall damage. I think all these are pretty nice, as well as the melee damage increments. So the first mastery is Tanto. This is where you want to pretty much pick up all the things you can. This by default already increases your Tanto damage. But yes, go for the Shadow Piercer to throw a Tanto, dash forward, and make targets vulnerable, dealing ability damage, which you can upgrade to deal more damage. Pick up the Backstab right here. With Backbreaker, you will ignore 100% of the armor or pierce it entirely, and also restore some HP with a final upgrade. This one is also very important, the Hidden Hand, which you unlock on rank 4. Sheath your Tanto and extend the Hidden Blade during combat even, which I think is super satisfying. If the enemy notices you and you get denied for whatever reason, you can simply reverse Ono card, take him out. Very fun to do. Remove even more health segments with it. And yeah, I still haven't unlocked this upgrade because I'm still free roaming 24/7. I still haven't completed the game. But yeah, we've got critical strike chance increments, damage from behind increments, piercing damage increment, as well as the leap strike, which I barely use, but it can be interesting to max upgrade as well. We also have some upgrades in Katana. Very important. Pick up the melee expert right here to further increase your melee damage of your Tanto. This is a global passive. Same counts for the one you can find right here. Increase your damage with consecutive hits. It's not amazing because we barely use it, but it can help in certain situations to build up adrenaline. Also check out the Kusarigama mastery tree. Right here we have critical proficiency, further increase your critical strike damage. I think that's a pretty nice one. The rest isn't very interesting. Next up we have tools, also a very important part of this build. We simply eliminate enemies with those brutal kunai throws in the face. Deals 400% damage. Headshots on unsuspecting enemies will already remove 3 health segments. Basically pick up all the upgrades to maximize its damage. I don't go for the shurikens, I think they are terrible. They also focus on affliction buildup, which you don't need for this build. Quick throw is also a waste of points, but do take the smoke bomb with the extended time. We also have the radius increment right here. Take the bell, just the regular one. I barely use it, but also go for the maximum amount of tools you can have on your character, as well as the adrenaline buildup right here. On Shinobi, this is where the build becomes super interesting. So you already want to increase your climbing speed. That's going to be awesome. All the passives right here. Maximize your ability damage. Damage after a vault, very important. And also reduce your cooldown with abilities, so you can use them more frequently. The Hidden Blade and the Dagger Throw. This is where we also have the vault passive. I also use it for my brutal one-shot Katana build. It's a Shinobi passive, not a Tanto or Katana passive. So you can use this for any type of weapon. Jump over an enemy and make the target vulnerable. This only happens when you press the quickly after deflecting, which is irrelevant as with the Shrouded Shinobi hood, we automatically vault over enemies while sprinting. So a very nice combo to use. I think an essential one for any build really. But if you upgrade it, you can also increase your critical strike chance by another 25% over 10 seconds. This just makes your build so deadly. Even just vault once every couple seconds to get that extra crit chance bonus, bumping it up to 85%, almost 100% crit chance. Don't go for the high vault, as the shuriken throw makes the distance between you and your target larger. With a Tanto, it's going to be difficult to execute that posture attack and take him out. I also take Heightened Senses, so you can slow down time for 8 seconds, aborts on enemy contact. This makes it super easy to land kunai throws and execute one target after the next. Also extend its duration by a couple seconds and increase your damage with tools. That's going to make these executes even more fun. And I also have the standard grab. I don't go for the assassinate right here. So that's pretty much it for Shinobi. Last but not least, we also have Assassin. Clearly, you want to take as much as possible right here to maximize the efficiency of your Hidden Blade. This one already by default removes 4 health segments. Also go for the one to use it against large enemies, go for the double assassinate, for the ground assassinate, and also take the extra adrenaline chunks, especially the final one once you've unlocked it, and also increase your damage when HP is full, as normally you just execute one after the next, so you don't really have to worry about losing HP. Nice stat bump, like 30-40% of the time in the game. It's also night, so this increases it by another 12%. And also go for the increased damage against vulnerable enemies. That's pretty much it. I think also the Shoyo Door assassination is super satisfying. That's why I have a Katana as offhand. But I don't go for this one, as I don't really like the fact that you have these red outlined enemies on your screen. It just eliminates the immersiveness in my opinion. But yeah, there you have it. All the masteries, all the gear basically you want to get your hands on to really dominate in Assassin's Creed Shadows with Naoe. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this build and share your experience with it as well. It would be nice to hear. Sometimes I switch to my Naoe Katana build. If you're interested in that, one-shotting enemies with head-on combat, you should also check it out. I think it's a super fun build to play. If you already made that build, it's going to be super easy to make this one as well, because most of the items are pretty similar. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for today. Big thanks for watching. I'll check you guys at the next video or live stream. Take care. Peace.